Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to a very special interview show of the Pro. Today it's my pleasure to have Major General Brajesh Kumar Sir on our show. Major General Brajesh Kumar Sir has served as a DG in the Army in the Indian Army. Thank you very much, sir, for agreeing to this interview and welcome to the Pro.
Thank you so much. That was my pleasure.
Okay, sir. My first question to you would be like recently we have seen 1 year of bifurcation of Article 370. And do you think that Kashmir witnessed any positive change in this 1 year? And if yes, then what were those changes according to you that happened in this course of 1 year after the bifurcation of Article 370?
You know, Kashmir issue is a huge legacy issue from the days of partition.
Yeah,
If I may say, it's an unfinished agenda. Now, looking at a very momentous decision taken by the government of India 1 year back, and its evaluation in 1 year in terms of some transactions here and there would be a travesty of justice, totally unfair. Let's look at it, what actually was attempted on 5th of August 2019.
yeah,
The history of Kashmir or J&K in independent India, if you can divide into periods, one could be 1948 to 53, 54, the initial period, nothing very, very insignificant.
yeah,
But thereafter, 1954 or thereabouts to 1989, be one set of period. Therein, lots of things happen.
yeah,
Internal dynamics, getting Farooq Abdullah in,
yeah,
Sheikh Abdullah in, out, various governments, and very passive kind of a Kashmiri people, generally doing very well economically and otherwise because
yeah,
of bountiful money available to them from the government of India, tourism, exploitation, both way,
yeah,
religious tourism,
yeah,
Amarnath and Mataji, Mata Shrine in
yeah,
Jammu, as well as handicraft, textiles, and what have you. The next period was a little painful. 1989 to good about 2019. We saw the Kashmiris getting emboldened and come out from a soft mentality aided by various factors into militancy, a very active militancy supported by a huge amount of international jihadis, our neighbors on the west, as also some local elements.
separatists from inside.
Absolutely. When I said the terrorists, the entire motivation for that. So the third period which I just commenced in the history of Jammu and Kashmir, that is on 5th of August, or shall I say practically October 2019,
Nice.
when these acts were repealed, 370 and 30.
Yeah,
So in the backdrop of this, evaluating a performance in 1 year period of time would not be fair, would be unjust, and will not do justice to the issue, I call it a legacy issue of partition.
Yeah.
So we'll have to give it a little more time, in fact, much more time. And I would say it is work in progress. So that is what is the backdrop I thought I will share with you. And the second point I wish to make before you ask me certain more questions would be, what was attempted by repealing, or not repeal, they were revoked actually, revoking these articles 370 and 35A. Now the first was completing the unfinished agenda or job of partition.
Yeah.
India was formed on the basis of secular state,
Yeah.
and we have as many number of Muslims as much with our western neighbor Pakistan.
Pakistan. Yeah.
While Pakistan was formed on the basis of religion, and the state we have seen could not sustain, because within 24 years, Pakistan and then East Pakistan, now Bangladesh got.
Yeah.
So Kashmir was with us, but not with us as well. It was in that, shall I say, stage of ambivalence. And what we have done, what the government of India has done by one stroke, removed that ambiguity and said, state of Jammu and Kashmir is part of India. So that is one major changes that the government attempted and has succeeded.
Okay, sir.
The second issue was on security. Jammu and Kashmir state had seen wars with our neighbor, had issues of external aided terrorism, with our forces deployed in large number. There were insurgency all around. So the second intent was to mop up, clear the state from these machinations of those people within the state and outside it, so that normalcy is restored, peace is restored. Location of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, if you look at the map, at the Mukut as we call it, northernmost area of India, was also an international boundary with two of our hostile neighbors, one in the west, that's Pakistan, and one in the east, you look at the J&K, that's China. So the insurgency in the state, hostile neighbors, all protruded towards a common security problem for us. So by one stroke, we have attempted to get rid or lower the security issue the same manner. I might say the issue is complicated, but it's a work in progress. It will take time. So the second issue which the government attempted was security of the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay.
There's
So,
one more issue which I would like to dwell before you can ask me the question.
Yeah.
is the integration of state of Jammu and Kashmir with Union of India.
Yeah.
In the backdrop of these regulations, there was a bit of ambivalence by its very nature in the minds of people staying there. We are different. We are not, we have options of Azadi, or thinking of those lines. We can be a neighbor in Pakistan. We can be Switzerland. Whole lot of notions which are not quite correct. So the third big aspect, the third big dividend was integration of the state of Jammu and Kashmir with mainstream country, that is India. Of course, there are nuances there. If I can dwell on, Jammu and Kashmir was not a homogeneous state. It has three distinct regions. The Kashmir Valley, the majority of population in 7% of the area of the state. Muslim state, predominantly 85%. The Jammu region, south of Peer Punjab ranges, majority Hindu. Some districts bordering on near Muslim majority, 50%, 51%. Aspirations denied because the leadership was always the Kashmiri. And the bigger area was Ladakh and Kargil, with different population, culture, and history. Not totally neglected, despite being an autonomous kind of a region, autonomous district. So you find that the article revocation of 370 and 35 in one stroke attempted or created to resolve these three issues, which are macro level issues, they are strategic issues of a strong political leadership of an emerging India. Because after all, these were legislated through two-thirds majority in the parliament, both houses, wherein the government did not have majority, or that kind of a majority in the Rajya Sabha. So the people spoke, and therefore a strong messaging at macro level, at strategic level. Nations speak this way, they act this way, and obviously the messaging was internal. Messaging was to the states or people of Jammu and Kashmir. Messaging was to the international community. And you would find that, by and large, the entire Western world and the Middle East, which is the Arab world, everybody supported. So therefore, it's a great achievement by the people of India through their political leadership.
So there is a section of people or a section of media in India which believes that India is becoming a fascist state after bifurcation of Article 370. So how would you respond to them?
India is becoming a fascist state, you said?
Yeah. There is a section of media which thinks...
Right. I appreciate that. That will happen. Now let's go into the working of what was actually happening in the street in Jammu and Kashmir. Especially since late 80s, last 3-4 decades. There was active insurgency aided by Pakistan. Initially, we had large number of those people, elements who fought in Afghanistan or otherwise, Daesh or ISIS, in various names, Jamaat-e-Islami, or various fields, they were there. They used to function there. So they had political patronage. Let's look at the politics of J&K.
Yeah.
Political power was divided between the families.
Yeah.
The two families.
Yeah.
Predominantly the Abdullah family for larger period of time and the Mufti family.
Yeah.
Third, the Jamaat-e-Islami of J&K, which controlled the mosques in Kashmir.
Yeah.
Fourth, financial support to various institutions. So all these elements have got up together. They were not a majority anyway. But I would say there was a coalition of these set of people who supported, encouraged insurgency and getting the youth to join them. The mullahs had a big hand in that. Now, if these stakeholders willy-nilly, you can add the Hurriyat into this at the political level. They all made tons of money. The government of India gave them money. The Pakistanis gave them money. Money came from Hawala sources. When you do a strong action and repeal all this, the entire stakeholders, these stakeholders, will get disturbed. Predominantly so, they and the elite had political power. The aspect of press or the vernacular press I did not mention, it is axiomatic there. So this entire cabal of set of people would obviously howl and howl and howl. Having said that, when you get in transformational changes into a state, there's nothing like certain amount of hardship will have to be undergone. Imagine the plight of not stopping internet or connectivity through the electromagnetic radiation. These people would still be pandering to the handlers across the border. How do you stop that? How do you stop it? So it was important to cut this umbilical cord in our process, in our journey. So therefore, some hardship obviously would have gone to genuine people, notwithstanding that. So this cry that it is a fascist state, we can't talk on telephone, there is no 4G, there is no 2G, our political leaders are, behind bars. These were not those accepted lines, nothing very new or much about it. And you'd find that progressively things are eased out depending upon situation. It's a very dynamic situation. If I may tell the audience, we've been fighting an asymmetric war in the state of Jammu and Kashmir since 1989. So in a war fighting scenario, tools these days are different. Situation is very dynamic, and we got to appreciate that. So certain hardship would have come to common man. That is understandable, and you have to go through it. There are no options.
Okay. So almost all the Islamic countries in the world, excluding Turkey, Malaysia, and Pakistan, supported India's decision of the bifurcation of Article 370. So how do you say this big diplomatic win for India?
First thing first, you cannot please everybody.
Yeah.
Second, or more important, nation is supreme. We will not have our internal governance based on what Mr. Erdogan in Turkey says,
Yeah.
or the army in Pakistan, which really roosts this,
Yeah.
or somebody else for that matter. Even you talked of Malaysia, there's a change of thought, etc.
Yeah.
So that is not an issue of substance. That doesn't deter us, because we are much larger, stronger nation in the world, which are sights correctly into the future where we want India to go, be it in terms of economy, military might, or in a very short term, as the Chinese say, comprehensive national thing. Our horizon is that, not these little countries or people. We know why they pander to a particular cause. So that would be my take on this issue.
Okay. So Indian government has restarted the 4G internet service in the valley. So don't you think that banning 4G service for a year has impacted the students and professionals in Kashmir? And if yes, then what was the biggest reason behind banning the 4G service? And since the government has restarted, so do you think that that issue has been resolved?
You see, no, it's not like that. As I said, as we go along the journey of improvement in the state of J&K, let's look at it this way. The present measures are not permanent in nature. We have a lot of things to be done, which are being done. Ultimately, we would have political activity being started in the state.
Yeah.
India has a federal structure wherein after delineation of the seats, we'll have elections, they will start. Now, some issues of connectivity, like in this case, talked of 4G, it's a small thing.
Yeah.
People get around together. In fact, and this issue was also in the Supreme Court. Everybody understands the compulsions. Everybody understands the initiative. Everybody understands, I'm talking knowledgeable circuit. So we have to also give way to the popular feeling. So we said, okay, on experimental basis, in 2 districts, one in Jammu, one in Valley, we do give them 4G service as a trial basis. So we'll do that. After all, there are 10 districts in the Kashmir Valley, and there are 10 districts. So let's work it out. Let's see what it is. That's not a very big deal. Things become normal, everything will be normal. So these are emergency situations. So there are emergency laws catering to that situation. There is no fixation. After all, there are sisters and brothers in the state of J&K. They are very much Indian like anybody else.
Yeah.
So that's not really an issue to be worried about
Yeah.
or talked about.
Okay. So coming to the terrorism, as an ex-army officer, how do you think that India can completely eradicate terrorists from the valley? What harsh steps are needed?
Well, a good question. It comes in very naturally to most people. Terrorism is not a military problem. Military can resolve a military problem. Are you getting the point?
Yeah.
So the role of the armed forces, why army? Armed forces. It means the army,
Air
the
Force.
Rashtriya Rifles, the central police organizations, and the J&K police, which have been doing a wonderful job these days.
Yeah.
Aided by various intelligence agencies,
Agencies.
the Indian Air Force for that matter, the others. They do a very fine job. So our role is what? To contain or manage the insurgency to a level so that it becomes conducive to talks. So the idea is force by military means the stakeholders who are there to speak the language of peace and talk to people. So you'd find that in our journey, not many times we've done better. It means the value, the quantum of terrorism was reduced, and therefore it becomes easy to talk. But what happens in a state like Jammu and Kashmir, wherein for 3-4 decades we've been doing this, there are vested interests, there are stakeholders. So we want some new people to come to play. And if you find that the security forces have been doing a very fine job last 1 year in terms of number of kills, in terms of ensuring there is no infiltration or less infiltration across the border,
Yeah.
in terms of lesser local recruits joining insurgency, in terms of
Yeah.
stone pelting. So we come a long way.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
All this augurs very well because this then will lead to
Yeah.
dialogue
Yeah.
or a political solution, shall we say. The diplomacy, sorry, the military aspect or military use of military should lead to a political solution by dialogue.
Yeah. Okay. Sir, you were saying something?
No, I said, the military or the armed forces
Yeah.
and its constituent, shall I say,
Yeah.
security forces,
Yeah.
will creating an environment so
Yeah.
that peace can return.
Yeah.
But that would be a political process
Yeah.
used by different stakeholders, not us. So we reduce it to manageable level. That's what we are doing.
Okay. So I would conclude by asking that what are your ratings and comments on the Indian government in managing the external aggression, be it from Pakistan, be it from China, or from inside in J&K?
Oh, that's you enlarge the ambit of the question and it becomes very, very huge, very, very confusing. See, there are issues because there's nothing which is isolated. They're all linked
Yeah.
issues. So management of insurgency or influence to insurgency has been very, very good. Few people look at the terrain of Jammu and Kashmir and Jammu alongside the POK area or Gilgit-Baltistan North. It's very, very rugged.
Yeah.
Very, very rugged. Come what may, people will wait through once a while. So it's been excellent. Other aggressions absolutely is fine, as long as you see what happened today is we're getting more kills in the valley. Why do you get more kills? Because there's more intelligence available to you. Who gives you that intelligence? A local people.
Yeah.
Local person who's unhappy with them. Or he thinks better days will come. So you're getting that. So it's a very good situation. You're talking of other stakeholders, well, that's a different kettle, there's a different scheme of things, whether it's China or otherwise. Oh, we're doing pretty well. We're managing very, very well. These are, that's a different set of equations, totally divorced from what we face against our Western neighbor, Pakistan and J&K.
Yeah.
But if we talk about the Chinese, we're managing exceedingly well. Given the asymmetry in power, both economic and militarily, dialogue continues. We have economic states in each other. We're looking ahead. As I said, we're not looking at tactical terms or near 6 months or 1 year. We're looking ahead. So Indian state is doing exceedingly well, and wish them well. Wish the people of India very well. They need to support all good causes nation fights. But in addition to security, the COVID had hit us. So mass participation of people and young friends who constitute, young people constitute more than 50% of the population in India. They call to add on, do our bit, honestly and religiously. And I think it augurs very well for Mother India.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining and thank you for taking out the time.
Thank you, Ritwik. God bless. Take care.
Thank you, sir.